Hello, parents. Welcome to our virtual back to school night. This is a little bit different than what we've experienced in years past, but we're getting used to things, and my hope is that this video will at least familiarize you with some of the main parts of our class this year. So, first and foremost, my name is Claire Masterson, and I am going to be teaching your sons and daughters English for dual enrollment. And this, of course, is a class that operates in conjunction with English 101 and 102 at UL. We've had great success with the course over the years. We find our students really enjoy it, and it really does help prepare them for those first few years of college life and even beyond that. So there's a strong focus on writing and rhetoric in this class, and I do my best to provide as much feedback and timely feedback as possible for my students. It's an opportunity for growth for them, for understanding their own ideas about the world and the world around them, and how to express those ideas in a well-informed, respectful, and clearly articulated manner. Those are kind of the three pillars of our class. And so what I wanted to do today is, first of all, let you see my face so you know who I am, but also walk you through a couple of resources that I think would be helpful for you if you have any questions about the course or your students' progress in the class or anything else like that. I will say that I do encourage my students, particularly seniors, to advocate for themselves. If there's a question or there's a problem or there's anything they need to speak to me about, I really encourage them to get used to emailing me, speaking to me after class, or scheduling some time with me in my tutoring times to go over things. I'm more than willing to speak with any student that has a question about the class, but I do think that it's good practice for them, especially as they're getting ready to venture out on their own, to learn to advocate for themselves. So first and foremost, my suggestion would be to encourage your students to take on that responsibility for themselves. And to be there as a support for them, but let them be the first line of defense when they have a question or something arises. Most of them are already pretty good at this, but I do like to make mention of it. So I did want you to see my face, but I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this distraction down in the corner. And I wanted to walk you through our Moodle page. This is one of the two main resources I use to communicate with my students when we're not in class. And this year, particularly since we're currently in a hybrid model, this is even more important for us. So you can see here, this is our main page for my dual enrollment course. It's got some info down here. So for example, my tutoring times are Tuesday and Wednesday after school in room 302. I'm also available at other times, but students would need to make an appointment with me or just shoot me an email or stop me after class and let me know that they like a different time. I'm more than happy to make that time for them. There's my email right there. I'm usually pretty quick in the email responses. It's actually a little bit easier to get in touch with me via email than by phone. Although, of course, if you are looking for me, you can certainly call the front office of the school and they'll be happy to transfer you to my voicemail. But if you're looking for a quick response, generally email is the way to do it. Now, the first thing I like to point out is that each Friday I publish a weekly agenda for the following week. And this has all of the details for what we're going to be doing in class, any necessary links, any homework. Basically, it's a blueprint for our structure of the week. And it's even more important now since I'm only seeing half of my students at a time. It's really important that they're able to see what's going on in class, what they need to do, and what my expectations are. So you can see that I have it set up in 3 columns. Number 1, and this is for the week of August 31st to September 4th. So number 1, we've got my classroom students. These are the students that are in class with me on any given day, and I've identified what day we're on in this first column here. So for example, my classroom students on Monday were learning about some AR sign-up info. They were getting an entrance ticket in the version of a free write. They were doing a little introduction to some stylistics work, and then they were practicing with that free write that they had written in the beginning of class. Meanwhile, my home students, so these are the students that are not on campus on that particular day, so in this case it would have been my A students, they were working on a no red ink assignment that was walking them through some introductory paragraph practice that I wanted them to have completed for me. Then I've got this column. This is for homework. And since different students, depending on whether they're at school or at home, are doing different things, different students are going to have different homework assignments. So for example, my A students did not have homework this night because they had already completed their paragraph practice. My B students, in contrast, needed to complete their unfinished stylistics work from the day in class. And you can see that my A students had to do that the next day. So this is the best way I could think of to be as clear as possible about what was going on any given day. And this is also really helpful for students when they're absent. This is kind of where I direct them as a first answer to their question of what we did in class while they were out. They can usually figure everything out through this weekly agenda. Now, this is just a still like a static image of my page on OneNote. So these links do not actually work. I'll show you the active page in just a moment. But that's a very useful tool. Also, I'd like to direct your attention to our calendar. So this is going to be our academic calendar. It's a little blank right now just because we're starting to get into things and we're working through some basic foundational ideas, but I am very committed to keeping this calendar as up to date as possible. You can see already next week we have a few entries. So we've got a vocabulary energizers quiz, and then we have a little AR sign up deadline. This is another good first stop for students who are wondering what they need to work on or what's coming up. It's also really important for my athletes who are traveling for games and things like that to plan their work for the week. If they know that they have a couple of things later in the week, maybe when they're getting ready for a big game or something like that, they can kind of chat with me in the beginning of the week and make sure that they have all of their assignments taken care of. So going back to our page, my students can also access any assignments that they may have for the week. You can see this is the week of August 29th through September 4th. This is where they would access any assignments that need to be submitted. So you can see for this week, they just had a little thesis statement submission, and that was it. So Moodle's fairly simple. I mostly use it for testing and for submission of assignments, but it is a really good resource. Now, the next resource that I use that actually I think is a little bit more important than Moodle is going to be our OneNote page, our OneNote notebook. You can see here, this is the same image that's on my page, but it actually has the active links. So you can see when students click, it brings them to the correct location, either in OneNote itself or to another website or something like that. So this is going to be really important for them. You can see on Friday of this week, we're going to have a little Zoom meeting. We're going to attempt to be synchronous on this day and have our at-home students joining us via Zoom using this link here. So this is very, very important for my students to take a look at this. Also, while we're in hybrid mode and while we're getting Dino and those sorts of things up and running, this is my policy for attendance. When students are at home, they go to this tab here. It says attendance at home, and they click this link and it brings them to this attendance form. And all they have to do is fill this out, identify which group they're in, and identify their class period. This lets me know within a few minutes who is ready for class, even if they are at home, and who is perhaps missing and would be counted absent for that day. So that's a very important piece of the puzzle. So that's really how I'm operating in this hybrid model, and those are the two resources we'll be using throughout the year to make sure that students have everything that they need and they understand what my expectations are. Now, hopefully we will be out of hybrid mode sooner rather than later. But so far, I've been really proud of how these students have done with a really difficult situation. And I think you should be really proud of them too, because it's been a really consoling part of this whole mess to be back with students and laugh with them and enjoy our time together and get into this really interesting work that we're doing in class. So please know if you have any questions or you need any information from me, I am an email or a phone call away. So please feel free anytime to get in touch with me so that I can be as helpful as possible. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it.